The heat hangs heavy. Nebraska in July was unforgiving. Days reached a blistering 100 degrees, but the nights were worse, humid, thick, and utterly silent except for the distant chirp of crickets and the rustle of leaves in dry wind. My cousin Kyle and I, both 17 at the time, were staying at my grandparents' farmhouse for the summer. We helped with chores during the day, explored the woods, and at night, we'd lay on the porch and talk about girls, music, or what we'd do when school ended. That summer, the cornfields were high, at least 7 feet tall, casting long, serpentine shadows across the gravel road that ran behind the barn. My grandparents' land stretched for miles, their property nestled between rows of corn and dense tree lines. The place was isolated, no neighbors within walking distance and barely any cell signal. It was during the third week there that strange things started happening. It began subtly. On one of the hottest nights yet, around 2:30 a.m., we heard the barn door slam shut. We both sat up, wide-eyed, certain we'd latched it earlier. Kyle grabbed a flashlight, and we crept outside barefoot, the wooden porch hot from the day's heat. The barn stood about 40 yards from the house. Everything looked normal, quiet, unmoving, but the door was open again, slowly swinging on its hinges. "Wind," I whispered. "No wind," Kyle replied. The air was dead. No breeze, no movement. Just a humming stillness. We shut the door again, latched it tighter this time, and returned to the porch. But we didn't sleep. Not that night. Something in the rose. The next night, Grandpa asked if we'd be willing to help scare off a raccoon or fox that had been getting into the chicken coop. He said one of the hens had gone missing, and another was found dead with its neck twisted at a sick angle. That night, around midnight, Kyle and I sat behind the barn with flashlights and Grandpa's old .22 rifle. Nothing happened for hours, just the usual buzzing of insects and the eerie rustle of corn stalks shifting like bodies in the dark. Around 3 a.m., we heard it. Crunch. 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 It came from the cornfield. Not like a raccoon or fox. Too heavy. It sounded like a person walking slowly through the dry stalks, each step deliberate. We froze. "Kyle," I whispered. He raised the rifle but didn't move. The sound stopped. Then, without warning, something rushed toward us from within the corn. It was fast, too fast for any person, and too heavy for an animal. We saw the corn stalks parting violently, like something massive was pushing through. We panicked, sprinted back to the house, fell through the back door, and slammed it shut behind us. Grandpa came downstairs, furious. "What the hell are you two doing?" We told him what we'd heard. He went outside with his own shotgun, flashlight in hand. 10 minutes later, he came back, pale and quiet. "There's nothing out there," he said. "But you boys stay inside tonight." That was all he said. The man with no eyes. We didn't go out for the next 2 nights. Even during the day, we stayed close to the house. The barn started to stink like wet fur and copper. Grandpa said it was just the heat and maybe a dead mouse, but I noticed he stopped going in there too. On the 5th night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the sound, those heavy steps in the cornfield and the way the stalks had moved. Around 1 a.m., I heard the front screen door creak open. I sat up and saw Kyle slipping outside, rifle in hand. I grabbed my shoes and followed him barefoot. "What the hell are you doing?" I hissed. "I saw something out there. It's watching us." He pointed toward the cornfield. In the moonlight, something stood just at the edge where the corn ended and the gravel started. It looked like a man, tall, thin, completely still. We turned off our flashlights and stared. The figure didn't move. For almost a full minute, we watched in silence. Then, it took a step forward. Even in the dark, I could tell something was wrong. Its movements were unnatural, too smooth, almost gliding. As it stepped fully into the open, I saw its face. No eyes. Just black holes where the eyes should have been, as if someone had scooped them out. I nearly dropped the flashlight. "Kyle," I whispered. The thing smiled. Wide. Teeth too long. Too many. We ran again. Back inside, we locked every door and window, pulled the blinds, and waited for morning. Neither of us said a word. The tunnels the next day, Grandma told us something strange. When she was little, she said, her father used to warn her not to go near the old irrigation tunnels under the barn back when the land was used differently, before the corn. According to her, something evil lived down there. She always thought it was a folk tale to keep kids from playing in dangerous areas. But that smell, the one in the barn, it was coming from under the floor. We told Grandpa, who finally relented. "I knew I should have sealed it years ago," he said. "Your great-grandfather always said the tunnels were cursed." That night, he boarded the barn shut with plywood and nails. But the next morning, the boards were ripped off like from the inside. Scratches long, deep gashes ran along the barn doors. Something had clawed its way out. We stopped sleeping. We started keeping knives under our pillows. Kyle insisted on keeping the rifle close at all times. Even in the bathroom. Final night. It happened 3 nights later. Grandpa had gone into town for supplies, leaving just us and Grandma. Around 11 p.m., she went to bed, and we stayed in the living room, watching a movie with the lights off. The power died. Total blackness. Not a flicker. No wind. No rain. No explanation. We stood, trying to find flashlights or candles. Then came the footsteps on the roof. Slow. Heavy. Like boots on wood. Then scratching. Nails or claws. Then something laughed. Not human. Not animal. A low, guttural chuckle that echoed through the whole house. We bolted into Grandma's room, but she was gone. Her bed was empty, sheets torn, window wide open. No blood. Just claw marks on the window frame. Kyle screamed. Outside, near the barn, we saw her figure standing at the edge of the cornfield. It looked like Grandma, same dress, same silver hair. But she turned around. No eyes, just black holes. And that smile. We didn't wait. We grabbed the keys to Grandpa's truck and fled. Drove straight down the gravel road into town, not stopping once. Not until the sun came up. We told the sheriff. He searched the house. Found nothing. No signs of Grandma. No signs of forced entry. The cornfields were trampled, though paths all through the rows, like something large had been pacing in circles. They searched for days. No body. No tracks, nothing. To this day, Grandma was never found. Kyle refuses to talk about it. But every July, I get this gnawing feeling in my gut. Like something is watching. Waiting. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see it. The campsite in the hills of southeastern Ohio lies a quiet, wooded stretch called Dunlap Hollow, a place known among locals for its sandstone caves, isolated trails, and eerie quiet. In July 2016, I went camping there with 2 friends, Kayla and Marcus. We'd known each other since college, and we all needed a break from the city grind. We wanted somewhere remote, no cell service, no lights, no distractions. We picked a secluded site near a rock overhang where an old stone fire pit had clearly been used by campers before us. The trees were dense, and the sky was pitch black by 9:30 p.m. We had a couple tents, a small grill, and enough booze to last the weekend. That first night was peaceful. We stayed up talking, drinking, and watching the stars. Nothing felt out of the ordinary. But looking back now, I remember something weird. The forest never made a sound. No bugs. No owls. No wind. Just silence. The first sign. The next day, we hiked to a nearby cave system, a shallow stretch of collapsed rock and mossy crevices. We wandered off trail for fun, following a deer path until we came to a ridge that overlooked the hollow from above. That's when we saw it. Below, maybe 200 yards from our camp, was another tent, one we hadn't seen when we arrived. A small red dome tent, partially hidden behind a fallen tree. No smoke. No noise. Just, there. Other campers. Kayla guessed. Maybe, Marcus shrugged, but that tent looks abandoned. We agreed to swing by on our way back. But when we returned down the hill, the tent was gone. We searched the area where we'd seen it, and there was no sign it had ever been there. No flattened grass. No footprints. Just untouched leaves and moss. Kayla looked pale. That's not normal. We tried to brush it off. Maybe our angle was wrong. Maybe we imagined it. We cooked hot dogs and drank again, but the mood was off. Something felt wrong, like the woods were watching. That night, Kayla stayed up late near the fire while Marcus and I turned in. Around 3 a.m., I woke to her voice. "Did either of you move my boots?" I sat up in my sleeping bag. "What?" She stood outside the tents, flashlight shaking in her hand. "They were right outside my tent flap. Now they're gone." Marcus came out too. We searched all around the campsite. Then Marcus found them hanging from a tree branch, 8 feet up. Untied, dangling like some kind of offering. We left them there. The voice in the woods. The third day, we decided to leave early. The tension had turned to fear, and none of us were sleeping. But when we tried to hike back to the car, the trail we'd taken was gone. I don't mean overgrown. I mean gone, completely replaced by a wall of trees that hadn't been there 3 days ago. Marcus swore we were in the right spot, but the terrain didn't match. Everything was slightly off. Trees in the wrong place. No landmarks. No path. Kayla panicked. "We're lost." I tried my GPS. No signal. The compass app spun in circles. We decided to follow a stream downhill. Logic said it would eventually lead to a road or trail. But by late afternoon, we were back at our campsite. Not a similar spot, the same place, same fire pit, same hanging boots. We had walked in a circle. We didn't sleep that night. Around 1:30 a.m., as we sat silently near the dimming fire, we heard it. A voice from the trees. It was female. Soft. Distant. Calling out. "Help me," we froze. It came again. Closer. "Please, help." Marcus grabbed the hatchet and scanned the tree line with his flashlight. Kayla started crying. "Is someone hurt?" I called out. "Who's there?" No answer. Then a third call, now just behind my left ear. "Help me," I spun around. No one. We didn't sleep. At first light, we packed everything and ran. We didn't follow a trail, we just ran. Somehow, after maybe 2 hours, we reached the parking area. My car sat there, untouched. As we were loading the trunk, I looked back toward the tree line. The red tent was there again. Closer this time. I blinked. Gone. What we found later. We never camped again. 2 weeks later, Kayla texted us a link to a Reddit thread about Dunlap Hollow. It was full of strange stories, missing people, strange voices, shadow figures, and something people called the mimic. One comment chilled me to the bone. If you hear a voice calling for help near Dunlap Hollow, do not answer. It isn't human. It will use your name next. I never told anyone this before, but I swear right before we left that last morning, I heard the voice say something one last time. It whispered my name. Twice. Soft. Familiar. The trip in July 2019, I was driving from Colorado to Tennessee, a solo cross-country move after graduating college. It was over 17 hours of open road and I'd broken the trip into 2 days. I wasn't in a hurry. My car was packed with boxes, a duffel bag, and a few snacks. I planned to stop in Missouri for the night and finish the trip the next day. I made good time that first day. It was almost 10 p.m. when I reached central Missouri. I'd booked a cheap motel about 30 minutes off the highway, but I needed a bathroom break and some air. I spotted a blue rest stop sign just outside Columbia Simple facility, surrounded by trees, lit by those harsh amber sodium lights. The parking lot was nearly empty. Just one beat-up red sedan in the far corner. I parked closer to the building and got out. The air was humid and buzzing with cicadas. As I walked to the bathroom, I noticed something strange. None of the lights inside the building were on, even though the exterior was lit. The door opened, though, and inside it was pitch dark. I hesitated. Then a woman's voice called out, "Excuse me, can you help me?" The woman, at first, I couldn't see her. She was standing in the far back of the dark lobby, near a vending machine. A tall, thin figure, maybe 5 feet 10 inches, with long black hair hanging past her shoulders. "Are you okay?" I asked, stepping just inside the doorway. She took a slow step forward. "I locked my keys in my car," she said. Her voice was smooth, calm, but weirdly flat, like she was reading a line. I glanced behind me. The only other car in the lot was the red sedan. "Is that yours?" I asked. She didn't answer. Just took another step forward. It was still too dark to see her face. "You don't have a phone?" I asked. "I did," she said, "but it stopped working." That was when I started feeling wrong. Something was off. Her voice didn't match the situation. There was no urgency. No frustration. Just that same flat, affectless tone. I took a step back. She took another step closer. "Please," she said. "Help me. Just come outside." She didn't blink. Didn't move her arms. I turned and bolted. I ran full speed to my car, jumped in, and locked the doors. When I looked up, she was standing right outside my window. Smiling, but not a normal smile. Her mouth was open too wide. Like it didn't stop at the corners. Like her face was stretching to make room for all her teeth. I threw the car in reverse and peeled out of the lot. She didn't chase me. She just stood there, head tilted, smiling with those two wide lips, like a broken doll. The detour, I didn't stop until I reached the gas station 10 miles down the road. I sat in the lot, shaking, trying to make sense of it. I kept replaying the voice. The darkness. That smile. I thought maybe she was on something. Meth, maybe. Or it was a scam, lure you into a dark building, rob you, or worse. But it didn't feel like a person. I still planned to get to the motel, but I wanted to report the incident first. I called the local non-emergency number. The dispatcher sounded confused. "That rest stop's been closed for over a year," she said. "We had a mold issue. Doors are supposed to be locked. Are you sure you were there tonight?" I hung up without answering. I still had the GPS running. I drove back up the highway, past the exit to that rest stop. No sign. Not even an off-ramp. It was like it wasn't there. The motel, I reached the motel just before midnight. A cheap place with flickering neon and carpet that smelled like mildew. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face, mouth too wide, eyes too still. Around 2:45 a.m., I heard a knock on the door. I froze. Another knock. Louder this time. I crept to the peephole. No one. Then a whisper from the other side. Help me. Same voice. Exact same. I backed away, heart hammering. Knock. Knock. Help me. I locked my keys in my car. I stayed up with a knife in my hand until sunrise. When I finally dared to look again, there were wet footprints outside my door. Barefoot. Small. Leading away toward the road. What I learned later. When I got to Tennessee, I told my roommate everything. She was into paranormal stuff and immediately went digging. She found something. A forum thread from 2014, posted by a trucker who had driven the same stretch of I-70. He described a rest stop near Columbia that doesn't exist anymore, and a woman who asked for help. His exact words. She didn't blink. Didn't move her hands. Just kept smiling like she was waiting for me to say yes. He never saw her face clearly, just the mouth, wide and wet and unnatural. Other people commented with similar stories. One said the woman only appears to people driving alone at night. Another claimed she's not a ghost, but something worse. Something that mimics distress to feed on attention. She's not trapped, one post read. She wants you to let her in. Epilogue, this summer. It's been 6 years. I've never driven that stretch of I-70 again. I won't. But this July, I got a call from an unknown number at 2:41 a.m. Voicemail. Just static. And beneath it? A whisper.